The experts believe that these crudely shaped limestone tools, probably used for chopping, were made by prehistoric man almost 2 million years ago. Up to now, scientists believe that man's predecessors, the hominids, left Africa around 1.8 million years ago. The discovery of the tools at this site now suggests that the hominids left almost 200,000 years earlier.
This shows that hominids were already in the Holy Land during this period, and if we can assume, or probably we can assume, that this is one of the earliest, if not the earliest, really the earliest exodus or sortie from Africa to the other continents, to Asia and Europe. So maybe this is the first time that hominids went to Europe and Asia using the Levantine corridor as a passageway.
While archaeologists assess the impact of their latest discovery, critics say many more items need to be found dating from around the same age before there's enough conclusive evidence. The same team have unearthed dozens of tools and animal bones at another archaeological site in the area, and it may not be long before they can tell us more about how and where our prehistoric ancestors lived.
Helen Sawyer reporting. A new device is being developed which can detect germs by using a sense of smell. The so-called electronic nose can identify germs in a matter of hours by picking up traces of the chemicals they release. Normally the process takes several days, and the technology should help in the battle against superbugs, bacteria which are immune to antibiotics. Ed Campbell reports.
Mrs. Jones, you all right?
Outpatients at this leg ulcer clinic in Manchester are taking part of trials in a new technology which, if proved, could revolutionise the speed and accuracy with which they're diagnosed. Every time they come to the clinic, small pieces of dressing are removed and sent away for analysis to see if they contain bacteria. Samples of the dressing are sent for standard microbiological testing. This involves placing the sample in a petri dish to try and grow cultures of any bacteria which may be on it. The process typically takes 3 or 4 days. But now samples are also being tested on this machine. The so-called electronic nose scans for chemicals which are built up in the sealed vial. In the same way that sensors in the human nose pick up certain chemicals which the brain recognises as smell, this machine contains a tiny detector which houses an array of sensors, each triggered by a particular chemical. It compares the results with a memory bank of chemicals known to be produced by bacteria. It can take as little as 2 hours.
In the first instance, we'd be looking to see if there was an infection present on this dressing. It's important for the doctor to know whether the leg ulcer is infected so that they can then treat with an antibiotic. We'd be looking for particular smells or signature fingerprints from the machine to be able to tell the doctor they need to have a specific antibiotic administered to this patient so that the healing process can start immediately rather than a week later when the patient comes back to the clinic.
If the machine proves it can sniff out the infection in a fraction of the time taken by clinical tests, it will be a lifesaver. When a wound's become infected, catching the bacteria early is vital.
It's extremely important in a wound that's got signs of overwhelming infection and where the infection is starting to spread into the bloodstream. We normally in these situations start a very broad spectrum antibiotic while we're waiting for the conventional culture results. But if we could have a method of giving us a more specific idea more quickly, then that would inevitably be of tremendous benefit, yes.
Intelligent medicine, which relies less on that broad spectrum of drugs, would also help doctors in their attempts to stem the emergence of so-called superbugs such as MRSA. They are resistant to most antibiotics precisely because widespread use has brought mutant strains of the bacteria to the fore. Cut down the amount of drugs being used, the argument goes, and the pace of evolution also slows.
Finally, a scheme to save North America's biggest bird is causing controversy among its human neighbours. The Californian condor, with its massive wingspan, was in danger of extinction 10 years ago, but birds reared in captivity have been released into the wild to boost numbers. They flock together in a small town where they've been ruffling the feathers of locals. This from Brian Barron.
Only 49 California condors live in the wild, so it's a rare thing to see one, let alone 2 or 3, except in the little town called the Pine Mountain Club, where the condor is so common it's a nuisance.
They land on the roof, they fuss around, they peck at stuff, they kind of chew on things. They were kind of going after my chimney a little bit.
Alex Fields even took pictures of the condors on the porch with his family, just visiting with the neighbours. This town was built where condors like to hitch a ride on the mountain thermals.
I had the experience last week where we had a condor sitting on the corner of the deck, and I went out with my video camera to tape him, and I was probably about 10 feet away, and he went and started walking towards me to go jump up on the roof.
Hey, get.
Wildlife officers spend their days chasing away condors so they won't eat anything poisonous or electrocute themselves.
She's going right back to that house.
All were bred in captivity in an effort to save the bird from extinction. The problem is there are no naturally wild adults to teach the young ones that condors aren't supposed to sit on a settee with their feet up, as Seven did the other day.
Well, that's it from Science Review. I'll be back at the same time next week. Goodbye.